Now I wanted to go over a question here. Let me get it open on my screen. That I think would be interesting to go over, because I'm sure that you've been through phases in your life where you felt like giving up, or didn't feel as motivated, or things weren't really working out for you the way you hoped or feel like they should. And it's during those moments especially that we have to somehow redirect our mind to watch the light, watch something that actually provides at least some sort of hope, so that we keep going and keep growing and don't become stagnant or give up entirely, indeed, because some people, they truly do give up on their life itself. So in the most extreme form, that can be taking your life, but in other cases it's usually just giving up on your goals and just being like, okay, it's not working out for me, I can't make stuff happen, so what's the point? Well, this question approaches it from an angle that I thought would fit the channel, so let's go over it. And it said, I sleep all day and don't eat. I'm so tired of trying. I feel so much pressure to do internal work, to heal my inner children, to not resist emotions that keep coming up. Yet part of me doesn't want to feel them, doesn't want to try, doesn't want to do any of this, and yet I know at some point I have to. I'm supposed to care how I feel, to raise my vibration and dive deep into emotions that part of me doesn't even want to feel. It just feels like so much pressure. I feel like a single mom to myself. As I'm typing this, I'm realizing maybe I'm still grieving the childhood I didn't get, and feel so much resentment that I have to represent myself. Just feeling pessimistic. If you were me, what would you do? I suppose I could try to do things in the morning that I want to do, like go for a walk. Any help would be great. I think most of us have things that have happened to us that we wish never happened. So this mentioning grieving childhood, well, I don't know anything about this person's childhood. It may be absolutely terrible for all I know. I mean, some childhoods are better than others, so we can't deny that. Depending on how bad it really was, then it might make sense to be grieving parts of your childhood. But ultimately the way out of this stuff that holds you back emotionally and mentally is to really make up your mind to move beyond it. And you see, this person is mentioning having to dive into their own emotions to work with their inner children. Well, this inner child concept, I've read about it more in general, but to me, I mean, sometimes it gets a little too complicated and a little too, well, strange, if that's the best way to put it, where it ultimately, what I feel like people should just remember is that the direction of your life, especially now that we're an adult, is entirely up to us. And even though we might not feel that we have that strength to determine in which direction we will grow, it does exist within us, and we need to become aware of that. We need to realize the actual power of consciousness itself in order to improve our physical life overall. And so if consciousness is constantly thinking back about things from the past, well, even in the Bible they warned about this, that it turns you into a pillar of salt. So basically, by constantly contemplating the past, whether it was good or terrible, it keeps influencing your own state of mind and your well-being in a negative, perhaps in a positive way if it's good memories. But you see, that's the problem. We tend to only do this with negative events and keep reliving them inside our consciousness, and then we miss the whole opportunity to grow into something better with our lives. So I think that is one of the main core things that you really want to focus upon when you're feeling like giving up, or actually have given up based on past events that weren't as optimistic as you would like them to be. Because they're saying here that they're grieving the childhood I didn't get and feel so much resentment. Well, it's like we're only a child once, right? This is all true, so it all makes sense to be it's not weird to feel bad about stuff in your past necessarily, but it's like, but right now you're an adult, so there's no point in actually spending all this time grieving a childhood that you didn't get the way you wanted it to be. Because right now as an adult, you're no longer a child physically speaking, you're always a child of God. And this is the most important part, because by understanding this, you can always ask for guidance from the universe, from God, whatever you want to call it again. And this guidance comes through your intuition. It comes from within. That's the beautiful part. Once you understand that all the answers you ever seek come from within, then you'll become more and more self-directed and capable of doing things the way you want them done and want them to be. So ultimately, diving deep into your emotions, I mean, there's therapies that work with this, right? They don't want people to focus on what was bad, to really feel it, to really get deep into those negative emotions. And I'm sure it helps people. I mean, otherwise it wouldn't exist at all, this kind of therapy and approach. But to be honest, like with me personally, if bad stuff has happened, I usually just write it out for myself. I think over what happened, and then I decide, okay, this is not what I want to ever experience again, so I'm not going to get myself in that situation ever again. So even though stuff happened, it doesn't mean I have to keep repeating them or keep experiencing the pain, sorrow, sadness, whatever it is from those events all over again non-stop. Depending on situations, this is easier than others. I mean, I spent so many years feeling this deep sadness after my mom passed away. And even to this day, I can feel a certain sadness because, you know, the way she passed away was by taking her own life. And people that really do that must be in such great despair that the only way out for them must be to not live anymore on this planet. And that's just very tragic, let's be honest. You wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, at least. At least I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't want them to feel that. I mean, life is meant to be enjoyed. It doesn't mean that it's always an enjoyable journey. But the more we understand ourselves and our connection to God and the universe at large, the more at peace we can be within ourselves. And then from that peace, you can make better decisions on where you want to go, what you want to do, how you want your life to become, etc. And then always keep in the back of your mind that it's not really so much about what you are capable of achieving, physically speaking, purely in this lifetime, because we all know it's a temporary journey, and every time we forget about that, we put so much pressure on ourselves to achieve stuff that if we fail to do it in this lifetime for whatever reason, then suddenly there's this great suffering and despair within consciousness, and we really want to be careful with that. Since life is a temporary journey, again, all this means is that we should learn and remember that it's up to us. What am I going to make of my life? My childhood wasn't great. And you know something? Even though we might all agree with this childhood story, whatever it may be, we might say, yeah, that's terrible, whatever it was, like, it might be the case, but ultimately it is up to us to still make something good out of our lives, even if bad things occurred when growing up. So we need to reach that place where we can truly and honestly say, it's okay. I'm okay. I'll accept this. Whatever happened, I'll accept it. Even with me and my mother, it took me years to actually accept it, truly. By now, I mean, I feel like I accepted it. It's not something that really bothers me in the same manner like it used to for so long. Like, it was so crazy if I look back on it, actually. But now it can perhaps upset me in the sense that I would feel kind of bad for people that go through a similar situation. And you wish they would feel good, right? But, you know, you give everything that went bad in your life, you have to give it a place. We all know this. We know somewhere. I know this person also knows somewhere in their soul, I need to move on. But then the trick is, if you're going to move on, to understand how to do that most effectively, and that's by simply using your mind in specific ways to understand your spiritual nature, so that you know that you have this freedom to choose. Whatever happened, it happened. I can't change it anymore. It may not have been fun, or it may have been terrible, whatever. Ultimately, I can still decide as a spiritual being, which you are, what am I going to do now? And as you focus on that, you learn to shift, you shift your consciousness itself. It starts growing away from everything that's holding you back. So the more you keep focusing on the bad stuff that happened or that you didn't like, the more it keeps you stuck. But then the more you learn to focus from a calm state of mind on where you really want to go, the more you start to grow in that direction. That's the beautiful part. And people really underestimate that, or they don't even believe in it. They rather want to find reasons why this could not be true, or come up with silly reasons that may be valid in reality, but they come up with reasons why it's not that easy, it's not this way, this is not how it works. And then, they might be totally right in what they're saying, but it's like, but you're missing the point. But because by that sort of reasoning, you still keep yourself stuck in the past, perhaps, and we don't want to do that. All you need to do, if we go by what they ask, if you were me, what would you do? If I were you, I would embrace this true wisdom of spirituality. I would embrace the fact that I can't control everything that happens in my life, everything that has happened to me, perhaps. I can't control any of that. But what I can control is myself. And in learning to control myself, I can then make better decisions on a daily basis. And as I make better decisions, then life will improve, always. It will always be the case. Now, it may not go as fast as you would want it, but this is the most important part to remember, is that if you've given up, or if you feel like giving up, remember, these moments come and go, where you feel demoralized or whatever. You feel a little bit sad, perhaps intensely sad about stuff in your past, but ultimately life goes on, and so should your journey too. Your journey should go on as well, and not stagnate and be stuck. And once you embrace that, to keep going into better direction for yourself, by letting go of the past, by giving it place, by accepting, okay, it was not what I wanted it to be, it is okay, my life still goes on, then you're ready to start perceiving and embracing what new things might come along on this journey for you. And then you will find this renewed motivation to keep going and doing stuff that will improve your life overall. So yes, that would be how I would go about it, by simply understanding it, by perceiving what is bothering me so much about the past, making peace with it once and for all, and then focus on where you want to go from that moment on, and dedicate all your time to that. Because you're either gonna dedicate your time to staying stuck in the past, or you're gonna dedicate it and growing into something greater, hopefully towards more unity with the spirit of the whole universe, which is also called God. That's the beauty of this journey, and that's what I wanted to share with you today.